UFC 305 coming to Perth. Full breakdowns and predictions. All right, I'm here to break down all the fights in this card. It's a very exciting card that we've been waiting for. Starting with Stewart Nicoll versus Jesus Santos Aguilar. Okay, I'm not gonna lie here. I'm kind of hoping this fight gets cancelled, because outside of the main event, this is actually the hardest fight to pick for me. Uh, Stewart Nicoll, he's a promising prospect. He has good grappling skills and a lot of finishes in the regional scene, but he's making his debut here in the UFC, so it's kind of difficult to figure out how good he is. Um, he is a hometown fighter, but Aguilar, he had 3 fights so far, but his wins were against jobber like Shannon Ross and Matthias Mendonca. So I don't know. This is like taking a step in the dark, So I'm just gonna pick Stewart Nicoll here because he's a hometown fighter and he's a favorite, and he might have better grappling and higher potential than Aguilar. So Stewart Nicoll is my pick. Moving on, Kenan Song versus Ricky Glenn. Now, Kenan Song is known for being a powerful striker and for his knockout ability. He has good aggressive fighting style, but the thing about Kenan Song is he's like a double-edged sword in the sense that he takes a lot of damage in his fights too. And he's been knocked out a few times. So, he's a decent fighter, I would say. The thing is that his opponent, Ricky Glenn, he hasn't shown much. He is more versatile than Song, but his best record basically was to get a draw against Grant Dawson, which is pretty good actually. But he's fighting a striker here, and it seems like fighting against striker is his weakness. He's been knocked out in the first 2 rounds in the first round against Drew Dober and Christos Giagos in his last 2 fights. So I just think in terms of matchup, Song might be a bad matchup for him. So I'm picking Song, and yeah, I think he'll get his done by knockout. Okay, next fight we have Tom Nolan versus Alex Reyes. Now, you see, when you see glass cannon in the Urban Dictionary, you will see a picture of Tom Nolan, okay? This guy is huge in his weight class, and he's capable of knocking out anyone. But, the problem with this guy is that even like a jobber like Nicolas Mota could knock him out, And he was hurt during his previous fight. So I don't think he has a chin to actually be a good fighter in his promotion. And it doesn't make sense that he's the biggest favorite in this card, actually. Uh, the odds doesn't make it worthwhile to go with him. So I think he's gonna win, but I'm not putting on any money on Tom Nolan right now. Okay. So next fight we have Jack Jenkins versus Herbert Burns. Okay, Jack Jenkins, he fought around this time last year. He lost a fight to Chepe Mariscal because he kind of injured his arm as they were going to the ground. So the injury kind of sidelined him for like a year. And I think the fight was a toss-up just before he was injured because he was winning the first round, but Chepe was on his way to winning the second round. But, the UFC couldn't give him any easier fight than Herbert Burns, okay? See, here's the thing, all right? Herbert Burns, he actually has the talent to actually be a good fighter in the UFC, be a decent fighter. But he just doesn't have the mentality. He just gives up too easily, like when he quits against Bill Algeo, I haven't seen like a fighter just quit and refusing to actually go back and fight. So I think it's just a jobber that's being fed to Jack Jenkins, and I think Jack Jenkins will get his career back on track right here with another knockout, because I really don't rate Herbert Burns at all. All right. So next fight we have Cassie O'Neill versus Luana Santos. Okay, well, Santos, she's a favorite. Uh, she did won all her 3 fights so far, and she's famous as a content creator. But the UFC has given her easy opponents, like Maria Agapova, who should be cut in the UFC, and Juliana Miller. She has a 3-3 record. So I would say Santos has shown good grappling, and Cassie O'Neill herself is kind of like a mid fighter. She lost Jennifer Maya and Adrian Lipsky, but she did have some wins in the UFC against Jobber. This is actually a difficult fight for me to judge. To predict. I mean, but I think I'm gonna go with the underdog, Casey O'Neill here. I think she's gonna get a bounce back performance in her home crowd, and this is women's MMA, so most likely it'll go a decision. And I just think it's gonna be a competitive fight, and you just never know with these judges, right? So I'm just gonna Casey O'Neill's my pick here. Okay, next fight we have Joshua Culibao versus Ricardo Ramos. Okay, Joshua Culibao, he's a dynamic striker with a good agility and technical striking. He's good at throwing those attacks like kicks, combinations. So he's very good at striking, I would say. He's a pretty fast guy too, I would say. But it seems like he has reached his ceiling in the UFC because he lost to good fighters in the division like Leron Murphy and Jalen Turner. So here's the thing, right? He's a hometown fighter, and Ricardo Ramos is nothing exceptional. He's a first star fighter, but he lost to like mediocre fighters like Charles Jourdain and Julian Erosa. So I just think that Culibao will outstrike Ramos in this fight because I just think his striking is better and it's in his hometown, so I think he will get the win by decision here. Next fight we have Junior Tafa versus Walter Walker. Now, Junior Tafa is one of those fat heavyweight islander, right? With power in his hands and no ground game at all. Like, it's like Mark Han and Tuivasa, which I'll talk about later. Like these guys have zero ground game. I don't even know what they do at the gym. But one thing it is they're blessed with the knockout power to knock out like any heavyweights. Well, lucky for him, they're giving him Walter Walker, another fat heavyweight who likes to wrestle, but this guy lost to Lucas Bresky, okay, who's a jobber in the heavyweight division. So I can't even. I don't even think he could cut in the FC. I think they're giving Junior Tafa a good matchup here, and I think he will get 3 chances. Because the fight starts standing every round, and even Walter Walker, okay, he was getting beaten up by Lucas Bresky. So he could, if it's someone who had a greater punching power, he would have been finished. And I think Junior Tafa is that heavyweight. So I'm picking Junior Tafa here to win by knockout, and I think he will get the job done here. All right. Next fight we have for a main event, Jingliang versus Carlos Prates. Okay, I don't even know what they're cooking at the Fighting Nerds gym, okay, but they have something special. They have lots of good fighters out of that Fighting Nerds gym, especially really, really devastating strikers. And Carlos Prates is just one of the promising prospects that has come out of their factory. Um, I was definitely wrong to pick against him in his first 2 fights. I thought he was just one of those overhyped guys in the regionals, but he showed me that he really have the striking talent, especially those long limbs. They could deliver like some devastating knees, kicks, and punches. The UFC is giving him Jingliang, a 10-year veteran, but he's reached his ceiling a long time ago. I think this is a good matchup for Prates, because Jingliang is a striker as well. But I really think that Prates is really talented as a striker. Okay, and against someone like Jingliang, who's kind of a mediocre fighter, I think he'll get knockout here. I think he will get the win. Uh, because I just think the fighting nerds they know what they're doing, all right, especially when it comes to coaching their fighters, when it comes to striking. All right, next fight we have heavyweight matchup between Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Okay, if you impress the stock market, the most common saying in the stock market is to buy low and sell high, and that's what I'm gonna do here. I think Tuivasa's stock has now been lower after losing to Taibura on his birthday, despite being the favorite. Uh, this guy, right? He's shown no progress in his ground game. Like again, like one of those big islanders, right? That just doesn't show the commitment to actually improve on their ground game. And he did look like a fish out of the water when Taibura brought him down, basically. So he's been coasting on this God-given talent in the form of the devastating power that he can deliver from his hands. But the good thing is that the UFC is giving him a lifeline here. He's giving him another stand and bank fighter in Jairzinho, who who's a heavyweight who he gets knocked out, he will lose. So I just think that Tuivasa has the edge here when it comes to pure power. If you really see it, like he really makes Taibura scared for his life, and he had to take him down because he was really giving him like really, really powerful shots. So when it comes to power, I think Tuivasa is the edge here. And it took Jairzinho 4 rounds to knock out Garcia, who basically just ran out of gas. And he did it more with jabs rather than power shots. So I just think that if you have a battle between a stand and bang like type of fight, I think Tuivasa will get the win here. So I think he'll get the win here in front of his home crowd, and he will basically save his career in this fight. Okay, next fight we have Mateusz Gamrot versus Dan Hooker. So Gamrot is a relentless grappler with a high level of wrestling skills. He's actually one of the best wet blankets in UFC, and he's done the whole lay and pray his way to like many victories. But in terms of striking, even Rafael dos Anjos was basically beating him up in striking before he had to resort to taking him down. Yeah, I can see why casual fans doesn't like this guy, right? But as a veteran, I love someone like Gamrot, because at least they come to every fight with a solid game plan. And at least they have a passable fight IQ, which unfortunately many fighters lack, even at UFC, because they'll do stupid stuff, But Gamrot, you know what he's gonna do, you know what I mean? So no, Dan Hooker, okay, he's a dangerous striker himself. He has knockout power, and he's a 10-year UFC veteran, and he has a lot of knockouts in his resume. But the thing is that whenever he fought like the elites in his division, like Poirier, Chandler, or Makachev, he just couldn't beat them. So he's a good fighter, but I just think he's really ceiling. And in this grappler versus striker matchup, I'm going to go with Gamrot here because this whole fight basically depends on if Dan Hooker could stop his takedowns. And I just think Mateusz Gamrot is too good of a wrestler, and I think he's just going to take Dan Hooker down for all 3 rounds and get another boring decision win. Okay, so here we come to the co-main event. Kai Kara France versus Steve Erceg, and both of them from Australia, I believe. Uh, there's an argument that Steve Erceg should be the UFC flyweight champion right now. He was definitely beating up Pantoja on his speed for 5 rounds, but I didn't know what he was doing in his last round. He chose to grapple instead, and unfortunately, he chose to fight Pantoja in Brazil. So I do believe he kind of got robbed there. Yeah. But Astro Boy, he had a meteoric rise since coming to the UFC. He almost won the title in just the 4th fight in his UFC career. That's pretty remarkable, I would say. For some reason, he has unusual power for someone fighting in the flyweight division. And Kaikara France, he's kind of technical and he's good all rounder and he's fast striker, but just in terms of power, right? I just think that Super Check has the edge here. And Kaikara France is always lost against the elites in the division like Royval, Moreno, and Alberti. So I do know that Kaikara France has more experience, but I just think that Silver Check is the more talented fighter, and I think he will show it here. I think he'll land the harder shots in this fight, and I think he'll bounce back from his disappointing loss with a victory over France. All right. And finally, we have the main event that we've been waiting for. So we have the middleweight showdown between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. So this whole feud, like a WWE feud, comes because DDP basically said he was the African fighter, because he does come from South Africa. Which, it's like a jab at Adesanya because he was born in Nigeria, but he lives and trained in New Zealand. So they had this promo where Adesanya came to the octagon and give him trash talk. I believe after DDP won one of his fights, can't remember which one, but it does sell the storyline here. I do think these two guys kind of don't like each other, so that's interesting. DDP is very interesting. His first style unorthodox, but this guy is very aggressive. He's very good in grappling and striking. He's a very powerful guy, even for in the middleweight division, right? So, but okay, there's an argument to be had that he should not have won the fight against Strickland, because it was just a very very close fight to call, where both either guy could have won it, and I think they should have a rematch, whether he wins or lose, in the near future. So Adesanya is definitely one of the best striker in the UFC. Uh, I think after Anderson Silva, I think he's second best middleweight of all time. He knows how to use his reach, and he has the speed to control distance and land those precise shots, right? So okay, the criticism is that after he won this title, he basically became a boring fighter who just strike his opponent and win by decisions. But you can't deny his skill, okay? He went toe to toe with Alex Pereira for two of his fights. Um, his win against Alex Pereira aged very well. So he's definitely one of those really, really good champions that UFC had. Okay, first off, let me say this. I think this is gonna be a very, very close fight, okay? Easy is definitely the more technical fighter, and he does have the reach advantage. So actually, if it's in form, he should definitely win the striking battle, hands down, okay? But I think DDP is one of those underrated fighters. He kind of gets underestimated because he does look awkward when he fights. It's very unorthodox, like sometimes like we thought like what is he doing, right? But he's excellent in both grappling and striking. And I think the key to this fight is if DDP can get enough takedowns to hurt easy on the ground. I think that's where he has the advantage. Uh, I do know that the bookmakers has Adesanya as the favorite here, which makes sense because he's been a great champion, whether you like him or not. But he's 35 now, and I'm really concerned with his after his last performance against Sean Strickland. So it's a tough call to predict, but I think I'm picking DDP here because I think his grappling will be the key difference in this fight. And I think his power and skills to get a takedown will be decisive. I do believe that in terms of striking, he'll be able to hang it easy. I just think he'll be able to land harder shots. And I just think in terms of where they are in the career right now, DDP is on the rise, while Easy, he's 35, and he might not be as fast as he was in his prime, which is worrying because if he loses a step, that will make a lot of difference. So DDP is my pick here. I'm not that confident, but I just have a feeling that this is his time now. So yeah. I'm really looking forward to. I'm really excited for this card and can't wait for see the match, all these fights. Okay, thank you so much, and please like and subscribe if you like my content. And thank you, and see you later.